Get the best of starts on the break of dawn. 32 FM 94.9. From motivationals
to news
to sports and talk.
We'll give you all you need to make the best of your day.
On the break of dawn. 32 FM 94.9.
Hello and welcome to yet another time on your Morning Tonic, the Break of Dawn newspaper review. It's the start of another work week and it's good to be here once again. My name is OLUTAYO, OGUNADE. The station is 32 FM 94.9, the station that is filling the world with laughter. Welcome to the Break of Dawn newspaper review.
My name is DELE ADEYANJU. Thank you so much for starting with us. Today is the 21st of June 2021. We're live on YouTube, 32FM 949 Ibadan. Welcome once again. I have headlines from Daily Post newspaper this morning. We'll rebuild Ekwereazu Akwa Ibom Link Road, Ekweazu. If Afenifere kicks as Buhari insists on reopening grazing routes. Oyo NUJ calls for arrest of killers of Ibadan-based journalists. Electoral bill. Governor Emmanuel seeks UN support for passage. Assent. Nigeria will burn if Northerners retaliate attacks on them. Arewa Ferrum warns. Insecurity. Nigeria currently in pains. Urge Uzo Kalu. Governor Ugwai in shock as policeman kills 5, leaves others injured. Can kicks as Buhari vows never to restructure Nigeria. NCC boss Dambata inaugurates committee on spectrum auction for 5G deployment. Ikpeazu commissions roads, promises Abians more infrastructures. Also, stop threatening us with war. We can destroy governments. BNL to Buhari. Libya threatens Africa. UN failed to disarm fighters. Buhari. Nigeria will not make meaningful progress without borrowing. Fashola. Mali must return to civil rule. Buhari. And finally from here, second Niger bridge to be completed next year. Fashola.
And from Daily Trust, how troops wiped out ISWAP terrorists in Borno. IPO partners Cameroonian secessionists on trading arms exchange. 15 bandits, 1 soldier killed in gunfight with troops. 15 victims of Tagina kidnap escaped from captivity. Kebbi shot schools after Benin Yari kidnapping. 14 gunmen killed as bandits attacked Benue police station. PDP to Buhari. Nigerians have rights to demand restructuring. Students abduction threatening education in North Lawan. Looters, drug barons using real estate as cover-up. Redan as NLNG flags off train 7 projects. IPO partners Cameroonian. I took that already. Let's take 2 more here before we go to another paper. Mainstreaming agri-tech for agricultural growth and sustainability. Always give back to your alma mater. Shoba urges Nigerians.
From the Punch newspaper, Trigger Happy Cop kills 5 Enugu youths, injures 4. Media bills, Buhari National Assembly attempting to criminalize journalism, says IPC. Twitter usage, Serap sues Buhari alleges federal government curtailing free speech. El Rufai wants anti-banditry protesters against blocking Abuja-Kaduna highway. Also, from the Punch newspaper, military deploys additional troops in Kebbi Forest, rescues teacher, 3 students. EFCC demands Ogun Assembly financial records, probes alleged fraud. Bandits kill village head in fresh Kaduna community invasion. Federal government plans action as varsity workers threaten crisis over staff schools. More headlines. Ocean clears 1,023 hectares for cocoa, cassava, tomato cultivation. Rep Twitter ban panel misses 10-day deadline. Lies invitation. More headlines. Ex-Minister faults Matawali's amnesty to bandits, empowers farmers. Afenifere Yohaneze Pandef knock Buhari over opposition to restructuring. And police kill 14 bandits for attack on Benue police station. We've reclaimed 2,000-kilometer cattle grazing routes, Katsina.
And from the Guardian newspaper, worsening insecurity. Oh, I'll come back to that. Let's see, neglect of grassroots, stifling governance in Nigeria. Niger senators set to tackle Amakura, others for APC chairmanship seat. Senate describes Lekki Free Zone quadrant orders as national assets. Atiku deplores Nigeria's woes, makes case for youth. Insecurity taking toll on education, Lawan laments. YCE Adams, Adeniran, farmers flay Buhari over grazing routes recovery. Still from the Guardian, June 12, protesters that tests Buhari's democratic credentials. Something you find there from the Guardian. INEC has removed 749 polling units from inappropriate locations, says Yakubu. Still from the Guardian, let's move to the business side. And from there, okay, this one from Metro, military retires 26 women, 317 men, tasks them on dedication, discipline. So let's see one or two more before we check another paper. PDP faults president's rejection of restructuring, if I vowed. Worsening insecurity, 7-year, 8 trillion naira defense spending, fresh 762 billion naira loan, worries Senate, CSO.
From the Nigerian Tribune front page, save Nigeria from another civil war. Nadeko writes UN, US, EU, Afenifere Pandef, MBF, others attack Buhari for calling restructuring advocates ignorant. How open grazing undercuts 1.8 trillion naira CBN's investment in Agric. Police kill 14 bandits, repel attack on a station in Benue. 14.3 million Nigerians abuse drugs. NDLEA boss jammed lists 24 CBT centers over poor performance. Aggrieved Lagos APC aspirants file 125 petitions over local government primaries. COVID-19, UAE eases travel restriction on Nigerians. Others, Sarab sues federal government. Lai Mohammed over directive to broadcasters to stop using Twitter. And Buhari has accepted dialogue as solution to Southeast crisis. Ngige.
And from Premium Times, Nigerian soldiers foil Boko Haram attack, kill 6 terrorists. Troops rescue 3 more FGC Yori students, 1 staffer. Buhari Gambari Ngige meet over Southeast security, Kaduna labor crisis. Southeast governors to hold talks with IPOB. All Northern affair as race begins for new APC national chairman. El Rufai visits communities terrorized by bandits, commiserates with families. Designer of 1,004 flats housing estate is dead. And that's Chief Isaac Fola Alade. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we look at the headlines.
Some people have that special phone number. Sometimes it's the first number you ever had. Or that number that rhymes with your birthday. Or the number that your first girlfriend, Titi, gifted you. Now, imagine having that number taken away from you and giving to someone else, all because your line was inactive.
Oh no.
Oh my, such painful stuff. But guess what? With Glow Always On, that won't happen, because for just 500 naira, you stay connected to the Glow network even if your SIM is inactive. Now you can really rest easy and never worry about any of that, because Glow Always On will keep your phone number for you. Just dial *777# and select Always On to subscribe.
Our oil sachet, 70 naira. Only 70 naira. I said our oil sachet now. 70 naira. Only 70 naira. Ogbonge cooking oil now. 70 naira. For a healthy family. 70 naira. Ogbonge cooking oil now. 70 naira. Our oil sachet now. 70 naira.
Power oil for a healthy family.
Oil, oil.
Set to fresh.
I feel the freshness, I got the confidence. With the liquid fuel chewing gum, not Santa Fresh. I'm feeling good, I feel so yes, I feel so fresh. I feel so fresh, I got confidence, so Santa Fresh. The correct chewing gum, not Santa Fresh. No darling with Santa Fresh.
Santa Fresh chewing gum. Trust the freshness.
With Airtel Home Broadband device, your home is connected and you all can focus on the important things in life.
Enjoy the finer things in life in the Airtel HBB seasonal offer. Visit any certified Airtel shop to get a 4G MiFi at 9,999 Naira plus up to 55 gigabyte bonus data, or router at 19,999 Naira plus up to 160 gigabyte bonus data. Offer valid while stock lasts. Terms and conditions apply.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
láti gòkè àgùnlà láyé èèyàn nílò ìtọ́sọ́nà ẹni tó mọ̀nà débi àṣeyọrí. FMH International HR àwọn ni gbajúgbajà akọ́ṣẹ́mọṣẹ́ iléeṣẹ́ alárinà tó mọ ojúlẹ̀jà bá ti ń tọ́ni sọ́nà finimọ̀nà nípa bí gbogbo òǹwáṣẹ́ ṣe lè pàdé àwọn òǹgbanisíṣẹ́ pàápàá jùlọ láwọn orílẹ̀-èdè tó wà lókè òkun.
FMH International HR alábàáṣepọ̀ gidi ni wọ́n jẹ́ pẹ̀lú àjọ oníwádìí ìjìnlẹ̀ àgbáyé tá a mọ̀ sí United Nations Volunteer Research Group láti jùmọ̀ tọpinpin wàhálà táwọn ọmọlẹ̀ yìí ń kojú nídìí ìgbìyànjú ajé lọ sílẹ̀ òkèèrè. ìyẹn ọ̀rọ̀ tó jẹ mọ́ international migration àti international labour activities.
ǹjẹ́ o tiẹ̀ mọ̀ pé o nílò ìmọ̀ tó jinlẹ̀ dáadáa nípa ìlànà à ń tẹ̀lé láwọn pápákọ̀ òfurufú tó fẹ́ gbà sọdá sílẹ̀ òkèèrè. lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ bá a ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí United Nations Volunteer Research Group pẹ̀lú àjọṣepọ̀ FMH International HR ń ṣe research lórí ẹ̀dùn ọkàn àti ìpèníjà tẹ́ ẹ bá ní. questionnaires táwọn òṣìṣẹ́ FMH bá fún yín lágbègbè yín lẹ́ ó ṣàlàyé ìrírí yín sí.
fún àlàyé lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́ kàn sí wọn ní 3rd and 9th floor Cocoa House Dùgbẹ̀ Ìbàdàn.
telephone 0817 4444 627
àti 08168737222.
Uncle Dentist, wetin be cavities and how Colgate take dey protect my teeth from cavities? Shey dey use comfort?
No dear, na hole for teeth dey cause most tooth pain wey be cavity. But if you use Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection take brush every day, the confirmed formula go help keep natural calcium inside our teeth wey go protect them from tooth decay.
Time don reach to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate, because Colgate locks calcium in.
And the Nigerian Dental Association, they recommend Colgate.
94.9.
All right, welcome back. It's 32 FM 94.9, Dugbe, Ibadan. My name is Dele Adeyanju once again.
Good morning to you. I am OLUTAYO, OGUNADE.
And of course, we have Dr. Ojedokun live in the studio with us this morning. Dr. Ojedokun, good morning.
Top of the day to you.
Yes, sir, we have lots of interesting headlines here. We're going to respond to some of these headlines, and unfortunately, this morning, most of these headlines are about breaking up of Nigeria, retaliation here, and all that. But before we go into all that, there's this headline that just caught my attention, and it's about President Muhammadu Buhari insisting and advising that Mali must return to civil rule. And Nigerians are saying that this one that we have in Nigeria, are we not in a civil rule? And are we enjoying the civil rule?
It's supposed to be democracy here, though.
Yeah, it's supposed to be democracy. I think the narrative for so many of us when we were growing up was that Nigeria will return to civil rule. And I think the bar was set so low then. But I think the bar that we set for ourselves is democracy. And one of the reasons why I would give Buhari a pass on this, he hasn't insisted on democracy, but civil rule. And civil rule does not mean that is the will of the people. What's
the difference between civil rule and democracy?
Well, democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
And civil rule is the government of our people too.
Well, civil rule can be through manipulation, some civilian appointed. When Shonekon was there, that was civil rule to a certain extent. So I think what he's trying to say, but he hasn't articulated it well, is that, democracy should be enthroned, there should be elections. But if that's what he's saying, then we have to look back in Nigeria and ask the question, the fundamental question: do we have a democracy here? Do our elections matter? Do our elections actually determine? Is it determined based on the most popular will of the people? And I'm not sure that there is. And a lot of times, what I find difficult with this government is that things are not necessarily going well in Nigeria, but we go out of Nigeria to ECOWAS, to other arenas, to go and pontificate. I think we should look back at ourselves. We should clear our house, sort out our issues. Then we'll be in a stronger position morally and otherwise to speak to other people.
If you're advising Mali to return to civil rule, the one we have at the moment, if you say it's democracy or not. Now, Nigerians are saying that we want restructuring. This this noise about restructuring has been on since maybe 10 years now.
Yes.
But the body language of Mr. President is not going towards restructuring.
Let me quote Daily Post,
body language.
Before you react.
Yes.
He says, I will never restructure Nigeria. You're naive, ignorant of war, Buhari tells agitators.
Precisely. You took it out of my mouth. It's not even body language. It is words. If you take the words, I saw that story yesterday and posted it, and I retracted it thinking, no, Buhari couldn't have said this. And the reason why I said Buhari couldn't have said this then was because APC's manifesto is quite clear. In fact, APC's one of the cardinal promises of APC was to restructure Nigeria. In other words, we have Buhari who is at odds even with his political party. And so Buhari is quite clear there's not going to be any restructuring. In fact, but we need to be careful with that headline because there's no restructuring, but people should go to their members of House or House of Representatives and the senators and let it come through amendments. So in many respects, I think Buhari is hacking back to the old days, the glorious, so-called glorious days when we had unitary government, as opposed to what is happening now.
Talking about body language, Dr. Yedo, if he shows that he may likely restructure Nigeria, then Nigerians will go back to their representatives, and they will know that at the end of the day, they will have the support of Mr. President.
Yes, Nigerians don't want to employ or get involved in a futile exercise. And so many people will interpret it to mean that this is quite futile. He wants the status quo. But I'll tell you one of the reasons why Mr. President is not going to engage with any restructuring. To be engaged with restructuring, you need a mental agility, mental capacity. It's a complex way to go about it. And if basically you're comfortable with the old things, that's what works for you, then that's what you will do. And Mr. President is comfortable with things in the past, not necessarily things in the future.
What changed? He did promise himself and his party to the promised restructuring ab initio, which of course he also said.
Yes.
But now he's saying, if I is vowing, what happened?
Well, I'm trying to be very careful here. But I think, you understand, I've said it before, and all the interviews in the world cannot change it. I think that's an issue of cognition here. Mr. President is very good in analyzing
You go
the
back
past.
to that again, Doctor.
Yes, I go back to that. He's very good in analyzing the past. But when it comes to grappling with present challenges,
Maybe he's
the difficulties,
fantastic
he's
student
unable
of
to.
history.
Well, I think it's much more than that. But the only people that can determine this, it's not me because I'm not a medical expert. Will really be the medical expert.
No, doctor, don't go back to your medical conspiracy.
No, it's not medical conspiracy because the reality. Okay, open grazing. You understand? 1963, restructuring, no way. A lot of the solutions are non-solutions. They're issues that go back to the 60s, to the 50s, and Mr. President is reoccurring in terms of his analysis. He's unable to grapple with the analysis of today, contemporary issues, and that's what a leader ought to be able to do. So I'm not making a conclusive statement because I'm not a medical person, but I'm trying to say I'm concerned and I'm worried that it's not grappling with the issues that concern
Activities of agitators is getting on the increase every day.
And
It is.
From this statement credited to Mr. President,
Yeah.
one can infer that his own definition of restructuring is separation.
Yes, and that is, you see, the point I'm making, that is the 1950s, 1960s, 70s definition. When Ojukwu and Co. were asking for restructuring and that sort of thing, that was the interpretation that was given to it. But in the 90s upwards, the restructuring we began to talk about is not about going apart, but it's about federalism which works for us. Because we've never really had federalism in the recent years. What we've had is a unitary system. But the nuances of restructuring is what Mr. President is unable to grapple with. And that's my concern. You may think that I'm beating a dead horse or a broken record, but those nuances are what's going to make the difference, whether we are restructured or whether we continue as we are. But the point is that we can't continue as we are. It's simply not sustainable.
From the Guardian newspaper, the umbrella body of pro-democracy groups in Nigeria, the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, has formally written a Save Our Soul letter to the United Nations asking the international body to prevent the collapse of the country.
Yes, but does NADECO really still exist? That's the question you have to ask. Tinubu is a member of NADECO. Lai Mohammed is a member of NADECO. So who is really writing this letter on behalf of NADECO? Nonetheless, let's not kill the messenger. Let's not desecrate the messenger. It's of concern. Civil organizations in Nigeria are concerned with the state of affairs. But you see, the problem is that we have a smoke screen. The government wants us to believe, and their supporters, some of their supporters want us to believe that it is business as usual. But the reality is that everywhere you go, you understand, there was some kind of an analysis of Nigeria which listed all the violent activities like a map and so on and so forth. And there's no part of Nigeria which remains untouched. Therefore, security, welfare, and anything associated with it has failed already.
It appears Mr. President feels he is very sincere with his own position, thinking or feeling he does not want the collapse of the country, and so it will prevent restructuring of the country at all costs. But is that the best model to really prevent the breakout of war and things that we do not really desire?
Some say it's malady or madness when you keep on doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. And I think that's what the president is doing. The same thing, expecting different result. And I think, you know, and I agree with you that the sincerity in the sense that he feels the status quo, that is Nigeria as one indivisible, indissoluble entity, is the way forward. And many of us believe that. But some of us are saying that the way to preserve that indivisibility and indissolubility is to restructure, is to innovate, is to recreate. And that is where Mr. President is unable to go to understand, until able to grapple with. And I hope at some point, either through his political party or through his advisors, he will come home, you understand, to the realization that if you don't restructure Nigeria, if you don't relook the architecture, that is going to collapse on its own weight.
Respected Minister Babatunde Fashola and all others in that category, we always believed in them that if they work with Mr. President, we're going to have a different result, but we keep having the same things.
Yeah, Fashola is in government, and obviously whoever determines the policy is the head of the government. And if the body language, as you've indicated before, is saying otherwise, they are hardly going to go out without resigning, of course, and counteract him or go against what he thinks. And I think they're hemmed in at the moment. You can't really say what Fashola is saying or what Lai Mohammed is saying is their true position. It's because it's a position of the government. It is only when they're out of government that they will begin to tease out what exactly.
And what about our brainy Vice President, Professor Osinbajo?
He's a spare tire, isn't he? He acts at the discretion and at the direction of the president.
Isn't it there to advise Mr. President?
I'm sure that he would try his best, you understand? But if the advice is not taken, I don't think it will come out publicly or otherwise. I think Professor Shibajo is trying his best under the circumstances. Some people might say I'm his apologist, but what do you expect him to do? To resign and go back to Ikene and end himself round with the supporter? That's not going to happen. He's going to wait out his term, and he's going to serve and try his best within the circumstances.
And history will not forget that he spent 8 years as vice president.
Yes, history may not be kind to him, you understand, but I think at least he will survive.
All right. The Yoruba elders under the aegis of Yoruba Council of Elders, YCE, the Ariel Nokakan for Yoruba Land, Iba Gani Adams, and a former Minister of Education, Professor Tunde Adeniran, yesterday flayed the federal government for insisting on the recovery of grazing routes in the country.
That's problematic because we've already proven, it's been established, that the grazing routes were established by the Northern Region government or the Northern Region states. It was never a federal law that gazetted that point. Apart from that, the Land Use Act, which many of us lawyers have indicated, overrides the ability of the federal government, you understand, to begin to make law, to begin to legislate on that land. Land belongs to the governors of the state. They hold it in trust for the people. So C of O's come from the governor. So how are you going to do this grazing rights? Are you going to override or go against the constitution and override the rights of the governors? Because if you don't have C of O's from them, there will be no grazing rights. Then apart from that, in a modern economy, an economy that wants to be advanced, is grazing routes the way to go forward? I think the government should invest its time, energy, and research into establishing ranches, not grazing routes.
Here from Oyo Inside, federal government shortlist Oyo, 20 other states for pilot grazing reserves.
Well, that would be on the basis that the southern state governors cooperate. Because if the southern state governors have laws, and if obviously the land use decree has established the right of governors, then the pilot exercise will be an exercise in futility. I honestly don't know, you understand, this adherence and this marriage, you understand, to grazing routes, as if it's going to be our El Dorado and release us into a new wave of development from that point of view. I think it's just wilted to a bygone era.
He
An
said
era
it's
doesn't
to check, the crisis between the farmers and the headers.
No,
The
but
persistent crisis between these two.
Yeah, but it's not two fighting. It's never been two fighting. You understand? A lot of times, what has happened is that herders have invaded the lands of farmers, and many times, slaughtered them, maimed them. I use the word many times because it's not all the time. Most of the time, it is not a clash. It is an invasion, massacre. And I think that narrative needs to be very, very clear. I'm not ascribing it to a particular tribe. I'm just saying the herdsmen that come, that's usually what happens. And so how do you solve the problem? You solve the problem establishing who has the right to land. Who has it? And the right to land belongs to the farmers. And at the end of the day, you have to find a way to educate these herdsmen. There are herdsmen who are peaceful, we know about that. But there are many who are hiding under the guise of herdsmen and have a different agenda. And we have to be able to open up. We have to be able to expose this agenda and deal with it accordingly. But as far as the federal government continues to have the federal policing, then it's whatever is the philosophy of the federal government that will prevail.
All right, the Odua People's Congress, OPC Worldwide, has urged Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde to allow the people of the state feel good governance in the area of security by doing the needful. OPC President Prince Oshibota gave the advice during his visit to Igogo town at the weekend over the recent attack by suspected herdsmen who murdered over 20 residents. And the headline from Oyo Insight here read, "We can't go to a farm, sleep with our two eyes closed. Makinde hasn't fulfilled promise." Igogo residents tell OPC.
No, let's be very clear, because I think people will give it whatever coloration they want. Let's be very clear that I've never, when it comes to security, I've never ousted the governor, Makinde, on a platform of performance. We all know that when it comes to security in Oyo State, that has gone a wire. We all know that, yes, he has achievements in other areas, but security is failed in that respect. But do we blame the governor alone? Is he solely in charge of security? The Amotekun that has been set up, has it matured to the extent that it can offer protection? And the federal police, you understand, which is under the direction of Abuja, can he counteract them operationally? I don't think he can. But still, people blame him for one reason. And what is the reason? People said he has empowered some characters, you understand. You may call them touts, other people will call them, you understand, road unionists or whatever you call them. But some people argue that that's where part of the problem is, and that's why the governor is being blamed. So the governor too must take a share of responsibility. If there are people locally causing trouble, you understand, allied to the governor, then the governor must act as the governor of the entire Oyo State, and not just the governor of some particular section who may favor him politically. So the governor too must take a stand and deal with that. He is a man of the people, there's no doubt about that, but he's in danger of eroding that.
Some have asked us to call out the Nigerian Police Force and other security agencies around the state to, collaborate with the governor in ensuring that there's security in the state. Over the weekend, an on-air personality formerly with Niger FM and as Titus Badejo was murdered over the weekend.
Yes, when I saw that story, my mind and my heart went out to journalists all over the place to see that they actually do a very dangerous job. It looks very cozy and very luxurious, but the journalists a lot of times are exposed. We don't know the full circumstances, but what it tells us is that there's insecurity, and what it tells us that none of us in that sense is safe. So the Nigerian police, the governor of Oyo State, and the security apparatus in this state must do everything possible, not just to provide security, but to track down, to investigate, to apprehend and establish what happened. Too many crimes go unanswered in terms of the investigation, and a lot of people just use the religious cover and say, oh, it's God's will and so on. Of course, yes, we know everything is God's will, but within that God's will, it is God's will that when people commit crimes, they're punished, they're pursued, and they're apprehended. And I hope that happens in this case, because journalists provide a very vital service to society, and without journalists, society shuts down.
Is it really possible that the Nigerian police in Oyo State are undermining the efforts of Mr. Governor?
I don't want to say in Oyo State alone. I want to say that the structure of the Nigerian police, I use federal most of the time, that is directed from Abuja, you understand, a lot of time conflicts with the agenda, or the local agenda, the localism agenda in terms of security, because their understanding of security is not in consonance with that of the respective states. And I don't think Oyo State is different in any way. Seyi Makinde, for instance, does not have say over who is going to be the Oyo State Commissioner of Police. It doesn't, you understand. The only thing he has say over is by donating some care cars all over the place. And that's not enough to guarantee security. Some goodwill, yes, but in terms of operational control, he doesn't have it. And as we said, the Amotekun has Dame guns. They're limited in number. Training also is limited. Therefore, security for now is in the hands of the federal government.
Doctor, how did the former governor achieve the level of security he got for the people of Oyo State?
Well, I think it was quite clear. He went after some of these road unionists, as I prefer to use road unions because there's not just one union. He went after them. It was hard on them. In fact, it was quite draconian in many respects, people would say. But what people would say is that it delivered results and there was peace on the parks. There was peace in Iwo Road and on the streets and so on and so forth. I think our governor came in taking a lenient approach, released some people, and I think that's upset the structure. I think the problem we have in Nigerian governance is when new people come in, they discard the old things that have worked, you understand, and start again from the scratch. And I think that's Seyi Makinde's greatest failing so far. That in terms of security.
On security. But for other projects, yes, it's continued with.
No, it's continued with that. We have to be fair with him. And I think it's when we praise him on other things that people think that some of us are pro Makinde. I'm not pro Makinde anything. I believe that one of his failings also is that he's unable to articulate very clearly where he's going. He's very good when it comes to project, but his articulation is below par. And in security, sometimes you have to communicate confidence. The governor is not communicating confidence, in my view.
All right, we'll take a break for some messages. When we come back, we continue. There is a report here. The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has defended the federal government's resort to loans to expand infrastructure in the country. He says Nigeria will not make meaningful progress without borrowing. We'll return after this break.
8 times 500 naira, 4,000 naira. 8 times 5,000. Hi!
Abeg, where una dey see this money?
Money care. Na the ogbonge bonus wey dey sama me as I buy new SIM card o. See then they give me double data subscription plus 8 times a woof anytime I recharge.
Oh boy, what's up for me now?
You know say you fit buy SIM card now for any accredited Airtel shop, ba? Just go there with your NIN, just like that.
Sure guy.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Center Fresh. I feel the freshness. I got the confidence. With the liquid fuel chewing gum, na Center Fresh. I'm feeling good. I feel so good. Yes, I feel so fresh. I feel so fresh. I got confidence. Center Fresh. The correct chewing gum, na Center Fresh. No darling with Center Fresh.
Center Fresh chewing gum. Trust the freshness.
iléeṣẹ́ Novesola wọ́n ní kí n sọ fún ọ pé tòjò tẹ̀rùn gbogbo àkókò ńlẹ̀ dá ádámà nílò náà yàtọ̀ sí náà dògán tá a fi ń sun bọ̀ọ̀lì lábà oko àgàgà iná sólà tó ń gbàgbára láti inú òrùn tó bá gbọ́ Novel sólà ní ó tẹ̀lé iléeṣẹ́ Novesola wọ́n ti wà ní sẹpẹ́ fún pèsè àwọn èròjà sólà lẹ́lẹ́kàǹkà inverter solar panels and batteries solar kit láti tanná láti charge battery gbọ́ rédíò kọrin jẹ̀gbádùn àti láti tanná ẹlẹ́yin bíi 2 sí 3 solar fan tó ń gbé fan láti tanná sùn dẹ́kun ẹ̀fọn amáranini ṣokùnfà àìsàn ibà solar floodlight fàyíká ilégbèé àtòpópónà fún sẹ̀mọ́lẹ̀ solar freezer láti ṣe nǹkan jíjẹ mímu lọ́jọ́sí kómi síta fún oníbàárà solar CCTV camera ẹlẹ́yinjú àsáfà àbò nílé iṣẹ́ àtọ́fíìsì solar water heater tí sọmi tútù di gbígbóná solar water pump tó lè fami gòkè ní kànga energy saving appliances DC bulb DCTV DC fan tó ń gbàgbára náà sára bẹ́ẹ̀ làkànṣe solar product wà fún dókítà lecturers farmers tailor àtàwọn ṣọ́ọ̀bù káríkárí Novesola kan náà ń lo kájú ẹ̀ kàn sí wọn bó rajà lólulẹ̀ iṣẹ́ wọn tó wà ní Akíndélé plaza ìdójúkọ Adamasingba stadium Mọ́kọ́lá Ìbàdàn tàbí lẹ́ka ilé iṣẹ́ wọn tó bá súnmọ́
081-8776-6005.
Novesola ló mójútó solar.
Our oil sachet, 70 naira, only 70 naira. I said our oil sachet now, 70 naira, only 70 naira. Ogbonge cooking oil now, 70 naira. For a healthy family, 70 naira. Ogbonge cooking oil now, 70 naira. Our oil sachet now, 70 naira.
Power oil for a healthy family.
Egbògi kan ti délé yìí egbògi àtẹ̀jẹ̀ ṣe ni ó dára fẹ̀jẹ̀ gidi gan Veneto cleanser ló ń jẹ́ o Veneto cleanser ló ń jẹ́ o.
ojú rẹ̀ ṣàǹjọ̀lọ̀ lójoojúmọ́ kí làṣírí ẹ wà rí.
Veneto cleanser ni.
já mi sí ọ̀rẹ́.
Veneto cleanser egbògi àtẹ̀jẹ̀ṣe tí bàdọ̀tí ara wọ̀ yá ìjà rẹ̀ wọ́n mọ́lẹ̀ ṣe wọ́n yẹbẹyẹbẹ inú tó ń dàrú gbòdògbòdò kò bára rẹ̀ èrí inú ẹ̀jẹ̀ amọ̀nà ti dé o.
Pheneton cleanser egbòogi atẹ́jẹ̀ṣe tí a fi ewé àti egbò ṣe ní ọ̀nà tìgbàlódé. NAFDAC fòǹtẹ̀lù ME1 Nigeria Limited ni wọ́n gbé Pheneton cleanser jáde. A wà ní nọ́mbà 17 Ọba Akínyẹlé off Adeokun Street Aláàfin Avenue Olúyọ̀lé Estate Ring Road Ìbàdàn. Telephone 08034051533 fún títà àti rírà. Ìwọ náà darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Pheneton cleanser àmọ̀tẹ́kùn egbòogi tí ya gbogbo kòkòrò inú ẹ̀jẹ̀ wẹ́lẹ́wẹ́lẹ́.
32 FM
94.9.
Two FM 949 Ibadan. You can watch us live on YouTube this morning. 32 FM 949 Ibadan. That's our YouTube handle. And of course, you can subscribe. Please subscribe to our YouTube page. Yes, Dr. Jadokun, we move on. Nigeria will not make meaningful progress without borrowing. Fashola.
Well, the problem with our borrowing is borrowing. We know is not wrong, but when you borrow for the wrong reason, when you borrow to finance a bloated civil service, a bloated legislature, bloated governance, that's the problem we have. But when you borrow for infrastructure, and infrastructure yields dividends, of course it makes some sense. So borrowing from the wrong reasons is being the bane of the Nigerian economy. And I'm not convinced that the borrowing that we borrow, you understand, is doing justice to what it should. For instance, even when you look at road projects, you discover that the cost of borrowing is exaggerated. It's exaggerated because our projects are bloated compared to all around the world, which then means that the investment that we get, the yield that we get, is reduced. And then if we are borrowing to create, I'm sorry, I'm going to raise this, if we are borrowing to create rail to Niger, and we're not going to be able to get anything back from it in the next 100 years, then of course there's a problem. Then it means that the economy is not dictating our borrowing, sentiment is dictating our borrowing.
Fashola said that I agree, everybody must keep their eyes open about how money is being borrowed, what it is being used for, and whether the debt is sustainable. We just delivered a rail program through the Ministry of Transportation. That is a 100-year asset that you have got now. So some economists say, wait until you gather the money. That is bad economics.
I don't think anybody is saying wait till you gather the money. People are saying that when you borrow, be mindful of the fact that you need to be able to pay it back. And the way we are going in terms of the economy is that the question of paying it back actually is a very significant issue from that. So I think Fashola is right to a certain extent, but he's got it wrong in terms of saying we just borrow without being discriminatory. We have to be discerning in our borrowing, and we have to be sure that the project we are borrowing for is the right value. If you want to buy a car, you are not going, and it's a tokumbo. And because you borrow money, are you going to allow them to tell you 3 million when it's 1.5? Of course not. And that's the way it should be for us. The fact that we are borrowing doesn't mean we should not get value for money in the projects that we're engaged in. And I'm not sure that in Nigeria we're doing that as of today.
All right, looking at Fashola, do you think he's repeating the same feat he got in Lagos State?
Absolutely not. I think in Lagos he had the independent, he had the sphere, he had the freedom to do what he wanted to a certain extent, But as the federal minister, I think he's circumscribed. And I think, to a very great extent, is limited, you understand, by the FEC, which is called the Federal Executive Council. Many people are disappointed by him. But I would say I'm not disappointed. When you become a minister, you understand, you cannot perform at the same level as when you were a governor. So to a certain extent, it is the president, it is the FEC that dictates the pace. And unfortunately, the pace is not good enough for someone of Babatunde Fashola's caliber.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Tayo.
Good morning, Alaji.
Alaji from Gakura. Good morning, doctor, and the other guy. I think we could see that the government at the center is the one causing the 80% of the problem we have in Nigeria. The insistence of Mr. President that getting route, which we are told is non-existent, should be recovered, tells you that we have a long way to go, and we still have that problem on our hand. That problem of killing by killer men, banditry and what have you. Is that we have not, what we have been seeing is the tip of the iceberg, because this insistence, these people are listening to the Mr. President, and they know that he is fighting for them, he's defending them, and they will be growing more confident.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Tayo.
Good morning.
Good morning, Doctor. I think it is high time all of us should come together and tell the governor of Oyo State the truth. Let's forget about he does not have power over the police. But he has the right to collect security votes. But when we want to do ourselves, I've begun to defeat these governors to get on saying they don't have power over the police. Look at all the police that were born during NetSAS. Today, they have not been reviewed by the governor. Police that were killed, today, there is no compensation. Since we have been shouting, look at what just happened now. That journalist just died. Many people died over the weekend. It was not only the journalist. The guy was killed in the Road on Wednesday. Videos all around. Nobody has been apprehended today. Let's assume it was my own that was showing us that I was responsible. Either alleged or confirmed. You think I'll be in my house today? Even in the presence of police, soldier, operation boss, and Amatekun themselves, a single man came, whether he perpetrated it or not, but nobody could stop anybody. They said that guy was killed. What are we talking about? It's the body language of the governor that is saying, don't worry, we are being populist government. We are working for this government, but we are not happy that our life is being lost. If it is me, what will happen? The governor will continue. We should tell the governor the truth. He should change his body language. He needs to be more hard. I think we have told him, don't turn him, but then to the time we say, don't go to Guru, don't go to Sango. Good morning.
Heart beating.
Good morning, everybody in the house.
Yeah, good morning to you.
This is John Olaruwaju from Maduo. On the issue of Mr. President, as far as I'm concerned, I don't need to worry myself about it. Whether Mr. President agree with the restructuring or not, that's not the point, because Mr. President is only one person in Nigeria. So we are Nigerians, and Mr. President do not have more than 8 years there. That's it. So after he spends his own time, he will go. Nigeria will know what to do. And therefore, the insecurity in your state, as far as I'm concerned, what is the problem with the intelligence department of the police? See, it's not only before the death of this journalist that happened on Saturday. What about the way they assassinated the man, the businessman at Ogunpa? Until today, last month happened. Today, the policeman has never come out and tell us the person that or people that are behind this assassination. See, is it Mr. Governor that we investigate this one? If you don't successfully about investigating the death of the people in the society by the police, definitely when another one happened, definitely people will not have trust in the police anymore.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Adeshu Yamola from UI. On the issue of the president, like the last caller said, I've always been telling people, let's continue to pray that we'll survive the remaining 2 years. Nobody, it's not even up to 2 years again. Let's not go there. On your state issue, I'm telling you, the killing is everywhere. Even in my place here, close to my friend's place at JJ, his wife and husband were killed 4 days ago. Did you guys hear that? Probably because they are poor. It has been like that everywhere. But what people have been saying, forget about police now. Police, they cannot, they are just like all those people that are controlling their code road now. That's the job of police now. They cannot do anything in terms of arm. But let the government take this force, both step first. This park manager's leader, they say you should remove that man. That's the best of today.
Thank you.
Yes. I think it's rather unfortunate where we begin to say that we can't have confidence in our police. And what does that communicate to the hoodlums? What does that communicate to people out there? I think one way or the other, we must restore confidence in our policing arrangement. For now, that's what we have. It's not perfect, but that's what we have. Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll take more calls. Good morning.
Our friend Oliver is what you call a man with a huge appetite. Gigantic, actually. And if there's one phrase we have come to know Oliver for, it is this.
More data, please.
No matter what we offer him.
More data, please.
So, guess what we did? We heard Glow created new data plans for people like Oliver, and we got him exactly that. And guess what Oliver said?
Excuse me, please, is this all for me? Only me?
Now, Oliver certainly has more than enough data. All thanks to the Glow Mega Data Plans.
With the longer validity you get on Glow Mega Data Plans, you can work from home with ease, run your business better, download non-stop, stream music and movies endlessly, learn online, and share data with anyone. No worries. Get 225 gigabytes at 30,000 naira for 30 days, 425 gigabytes at 50,000 naira for 90 days, and 1 terabyte at 100,000 naira for a year. Dial *777# now to start enjoying these mega plans.
Glow Unlimited.
Center Fresh. I feel the freshness. I got the confidence. With the liquid fuel chewing gum, not Center Fresh. I'm feeling good. I feel so good. Yes, I feel so fresh. I feel so fresh. I got confidence. Center Fresh. The correct chewing gum, not Center Fresh. No, darling, with Center Fresh.
Center Fresh chewing gum. Trust the freshness.
As a child, I already know what I will become. As a kid, I already know that I am a star. As young as I am, every child dream is valid with Adron Homes.
Yes, with Adron Homes Young Landlord product, every child can become a landlord today. Buy a plot of land for your child and enjoy up to 20, 40, or 50% discount with 6 to 36 months payment plan. That's not all. You get lots of free giveaways like school bags, provisions, free meal voucher at the Place Restaurant, Domino's, or Chicken Republic, and many more freebies. For more inquiries, call these numbers:
081 67552420 or 09020475116.
Every child dream is valid with Adron Homes.
Looking beautiful day and night with one click. AI selfie with the pictures on flick. Full high definition with a large screen. Infinix, no tag. Top speed with a Helio G95. Super speed where they make you satisfied. Walk out, play, everything is okay. Infinix Note 10, 10 over 10. Hey yo, this is a real deal. Infinix Note 10. Hey yo, this is a real deal. Infinix Note 10, beauty mix strength.
Enjoy super fast processor with the new Infinix Note 10 with Helio G95 speed, especially for better gaming experience, and a 6.95-inch FHD screen for wider viewing pleasures. Infinix Note 10 meets beauty with strength.
Power oil sachet, 79 naira. Only 79. I said power oil sachet now. 79 naira. Only 79 naira. Ogbonge cooking oil now. 79 naira. For a healthy family. 79 naira. Ogbonge cooking oil now. 79 naira. Power oil sachet now. 79 naira.
Power oil for a healthy family.
Power oil.
32 FM 94.9.
Welcome back. 0705 5949 0809 7949. Those are the studio lines you can call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dele and Tayo.
Good morning.
John is my name, John is my father's name. And I want to talk about Barry Van, not to restructure. Let me quote: the young minds are saying there is hope tomorrow because there is brightness, so they see hope easily. But old man sees wisdom more than hope. Apology to Professor Banji Akintoye. I have been finally vindicated that Major General Mama Buhari is not ready to restructure the country, despite public demand, including opinion leaders. And after studying the mood of Nigerians in the twilight of the deteriorating security situation in the twilight of Jonathan years, APC put together a manifesto with which it campaigned vigorously for 2015 presidential elections. In that document, I'm sure the party aligned itself with the popular clamor for restructuring. The party, due to public demand, deceitfully, let me use that word, set up a restructuring committee in 2017, headed by Kaduna State Governor, Diminutive Governor of Kaduna State, Malam El-Rufai, with quality recommendation on restructuring. Submitted the report of 23 January 2018. Having studied the body language of Mr. President, I am not surprised that the more talk about restructuring has taken its place on the long queue of the berry. I am John Njoko. Thank you.
Thank you, John and Jago. Doctor, so
well,
it means Buhari only told us what we wanted to hear the other time.
Well, no, let's be fair. I actually think that in 2015, Buhari may to a certain extent have believed in restructuring. But the problem I have now is that Buhari doesn't seem to be able to process that further, and is more comfortable with the old ideas. So I think it would be wrong to say he didn't believe it then. I think now that he's in government and now that he's getting older, it's becoming increasingly difficult to process those ideas forward. That's what I think. I mean, it's a convoluted response,
And
but
his
that's what I think.
advisors, those around him.
Well, those around, Buhari is said to be very, very... Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
I'm Daniel Opereti. I'm speaking from Okechunu, Ibadan.
Let's have your headline.
As far as I understand, the police is a federal outfit that's supposed to be equipped by the federal, and they are being controlled by the federal government also. But we are not necessarily just blaming the governor for the insecurity in our state. I could remember there was a period during this administration, he bought some vehicles, patrol vehicles, and equipped them with communication gadgets and handed it over to the police. Is he supposed to man the vehicles, or is he supposed to produce the police to man the vehicles, or is he supposed to lead the patrol?
So what is your point exactly? What's your point exactly, okay, Daniel?
Yeah, I think we are just blaming the governor for insecurity. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
All right. The other time, President Buhari said some governors came to him and said, "Go back to your people. Go and fix the security problem in your state."
Well, that's the disconnect, if I may use that word. There's a disconnect. He sometimes, when he talks, doesn't realize that the power to change and transform and to set the agenda lies within him. He puts it back in the hands of the governors. Of course, the governors have a role to play, but he controls the federal police. He controls the federal agencies, most of them, you understand. And so you would have expected that the president himself takes the lead. But a lot of times, there's a shifting of the goalposts into the hands of the governor. And the governors have limited powers, a limited scope and ability to be able to do it. So I think we are in a kind of...
They asked a very, pertinent question the other time.
Yes.
How did Ajimobi achieve security, in your state?
No, I think Ajimobi was draconian. I think he was, but for the good of the people, from that point of view. So, sometimes, that's why some people sometimes balk at democracy and that sort of thing, where you have liberty and freedom. I support the freedom of people, but sometimes I believe that the governor should come out hard. Sometimes it needs to be draconian for a while, you understand? Or if there are places of your state that are ungovernable, then in that local area, declare a state of emergency.
009 7000 949 0705 5000 949 to drop your comment on the program. Good morning to you.
My brother in the studio. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother in the studio. This is David Bashar. I'm calling from Dadon.
Thank you.
It is quite unfortunate that Mr. President can be found not to restructure this country. Please, how are we going to continue with this old and bad structure we have, for God's sake? We are appealing to the Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari, to please listen to the voice of the million Nigerians and do their needful by restructure this country before the country restructure itself. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. You want to force Mr. President against his own wish?
Well, I think in a democracy, you keep on trying to persuade. The act of persuasion is one of the tools we have. And I think we can't give up. I think we have to go on and on.
Mr. President did consult widely.
No, he didn't consult widely. It's quite evident. It's quite evident that there's a small...
Good morning.
Yeah.
Hello, good morning, Bayo.
Yes, we have you here. Good morning to you.
That is Bayo. Quick one. I want to start the question Dele asked. Hello, are you hearing me, sir? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Bayo, go on.
Okay, thank you. Does it mean that during the Ajimobi there's no security challenge? No. We have it. Soka, 2 million, this 1 million boss, we have it. I want to follow John Alabajo and the guy that come from Okechinu. You see, if we sit and continue blaming governor, this separator will continue to hide under this. Try security votes, like the one Solu did in Lagos, where the commission. He bought different cars, bike, everything. Yeah, she did the same thing.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
We can hear you. Good morning.
Yeah. Abe is calling from Moria. Hello.
Hello. We can hear you. Good morning, Abe.
Am I on?
Yes, you are on.
Okay, thank you. This is Abe calling from Moria. You see, the problem of the solution to the problems in this country is in our hands. If only as a people we come together to identify that there is a problem. So let us identify that there is a problem. Having identified that problem, then let's put heads together the source of that problem and the way out of that problem. There is no problem without solution. Nigeria's problem is not different from many countries that have faced war today. They are started failing. We have solutions to this problem. Let us come together to really find out. Because on a daily basis, Nigerians dying. This is not, we will not just continue to talk. Let us come together. This problem that is on ground, how do we go about it? What is the last solution? The panacea towards giving a final full stop to this problem. This is the time Nigerians need to sit down and start putting heads together in order for us to have one voice and a good Nigeria that we all came for. Have a nice day.
Oh, thank you. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Ola is my name. I'm calling from Ibadan. Please, I want to quickly talk about insecurity in your state. When we look at the previous government, I don't want to be compared what happened in the previous government. But when we look at what is happening now, the dimension of this thing has changed. Look at the way the police authority, they were there in the road when all this thing was happening. They could not do anything. They were there. The soldier, when they learned that something was happening in Igagan, they could not do anything. It was later that those people attacked, and they wanted to have the reprisal attack that the soldier came.
Who is trying to frustrate Engineer Shea Makinde?
Well, I don't think there's a conspiracy to frustrate him. I think there's a combination of occurrences. The police have been hampered by the NSAS, as has been mentioned there. Police stations have been burnt out. So where do they stay? Where do they keep their ammunition? But apart from that, Shea Makinde himself must realize that his hands, his future, is not in the hands of local militia or transport, road transport, whatever you call them. It cannot be. He has to rely, either he uses the authorized, the Amotekun, or find a way to work with the Nigerian police. And there's a special advisor called Fatai Wosheni. Right. I would expect to see more. He did some magic in Lagos, and he later went to one of the states in the north before he retired. I would expect to see more of him in terms of action, in terms of advice, and in terms of policies.
Thank you, Dr. Lojedigo, for sharing your morning. We got this one on YouTube. The statement created to Fashola is absolutely correct. What are we using the money borrowed so far for? That's from Omotalani Abiola Mobashiran. Thank you. My name is OLUTAYO OGUNADE. Thank you, dear listener. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. But 7 o'clock will be time for Smart Kids Show with Auntie Yellow. Good morning.
My name is DELE ADEYANJU. Good morning.